Deion Sanders is putting on a coaching malpractice clinic, and no one's allowed to talk about it, criticize him, or correct him because he's black. That's my fire starter. And I love that fire starter. And I know that the Deion worshipers and groupies out there in the audience, Ticket TV, let me hand you a tissue because I know you're in the chat just crying right now. Oh, I can't believe Jason's criticizing Deion Sanders. He's 4-4. Don't you know they only won one game last year? It's a miracle. They've won 4 games. I've told y'all time and time again, Deion's not coaching last year's team. He ran those guys all off the team. They ran a stat on Saturday. There's one guy from last year's team who's playing. Deion ran them all out. He brought in 86 new players, including 50-some-odd players through the transfer portal. All this, oh, God, it's a miracle. Look at he's coaching a team that only won one game. He's not coaching that team. It's a completely different roster. And this different roster should be 2-6. This different roster has really only outplayed one opponent. That's every other game they've virtually been outplayed in. It's the most penalized team in the country. And I'm sure that's racism. I'm sure all the refs are going out there and just, we got to penalize Deion's team. We're racist. You know why I say that? Shiloh, Deion's other son, who's a pretty good player. I'm going to give it to him. So is Shador, pretty good player. I'm going to give it to him. But Shiloh executed a classic helmet-to-chin hit and got tossed from Saturday's game. And everybody's whining and crying. And I saw Des Bryant tweeted out, they tossed Shiloh out of the game, but they didn't toss that Henry Blackburn from Colorado State. Interesting. That's racism. The Henry Blackburn's the kid that hit Travis Hunter in the Colorado State game. He got flagged for, but he didn't get tossed out of the game, is my memory. But you get tossed out of the game for targeting, helmet to chin, leading with the crown of your helmet. Henry Blackburn didn't do that. He did a late hit. Shiloh, and again, I don't like the targeting rule. I think it's overused. I like the old school football. But the rules stipulate if you lead with the crown of your helmet and it hits this chin and neck area, you get tossed in the game. This isn't an example of the refs picking on Shiloh. This goes on every weekend during college football season. White kids, black kids, I've seen them all get tossed over that hit. I don't like it, but it is the rules. There's a bunch of these rules I don't like. I don't like how much they call pass interference, illegal contact, all that other stuff. But it's part of the game, and you have to accept it. That's the way the game's played now. But to sit here and act like the refs are picking on Colorado. They wanted to throw Deion's son out the game. We just sound like idiots. Quit the worship of Deion. He's unworthy. There's none of us walking this planet who are worthy of this type of worship. I get that he's 4-4. But this is not a great coach. I didn't even play the clip. He threw the offensive coordinator under the bus. I think I can read that to you. Threw the offensive coordinator under the bus. It's everybody's fault but Deion's. If anybody ever tells an accurate story about what's going on at Colorado this year with the players and the assistant coaches, it would be an amazing story. Because there's a handful, half dozen players that are like, yeah, I'm cool with Deion. And then there's the rest of that team that says, wow, this whole thing is about Deion. Then it's about Shador. Then it's about Travis Hunter. And then it's about Shiloh. And everybody else can go to hell. But this is really about Deion. Here's what he said. Someone asked him about Sean Lewis, their offensive coordinator. Here's Deion's answer. You can't put me on the spot like that. I think the coaches are doing a pretty good job. Thank you. That was a great try, valiant effort. You got to understand, I sat in your seat for like 17, 18 years, so I got to know when it's coming. Someone asked you about someone on your team, a coach that you hired, and all you can say is, you can't put me on the spot like that. That's what you're saying is, yeah, he's doing a terrible job, but I can't answer that question. I'll get in trouble. He just did that to his offensive coordinator, as if his offensive coordinator hasn't been given specific instructions by Daddy Dearest. You throw that football and showcase my son, because that's what this is about. We don't want to run a balanced offense. We don't want to do the things necessary to allow this offensive line to grow and develop. That's why you run the football all season. You don't abandon it, but you run it all season. And I think, according to our stats, I believe in this 5-game stretch, where they've gone 1-4, the running backs have averaged 4.2 yards per carry. That's more than respectable. That justifies the running backs running the ball in a college football game 25 to 30 times per game. And when you're in a dogfight and you've won the turnover battle 4-0 in the first half, that probably justifies running the ball 35 times over the course of the game. And I don't care if you're only averaging 3 yards per carry. When the other team has pass rushers like UCLA, you can't telegraph, you can't let the opposing defensive coordinator and the guys on that defensive line know, 90% of the time, this is going to be a pass play. You're putting your offensive line in a bad spot. You're putting your quarterback in a bad spot. This is unbelievable coaching malpractice. This is embarrassing. And the fact that no one will call it out, that people that have played the game and people that have an understanding of the game, I mean, many of these athletes don't. I mean, they don't have a full understanding. Guys that played out on the islands, wide receivers, corners, a lot of times defensive linemen, they don't have any idea. That Warren Sapp is going to be mad at me for saying that. Warren's different, but they don't have any idea. Running backs a lot of times have no clue what's going on. But people that played safety, middle linebacker, center, quarterback, offensive line, they understand the big picture. That, hey, man, even if we're only picking up 2 yards, it's important for us to run this football, to back these defensive linemen off, that they have to think. Because, again, you have gap responsibilities that are really important in a running game. Defensive linemen do. You have to stay in your gaps when you're facing a running game. When you're facing a passing team who doesn't have a super mobile quarterback, gaps become far less important. If you're facing a quarterback and it's Lamar Jackson, yeah, you better stay in these rush lanes make sure you keep contained, make sure you stay in your gap. That's all important. But when you're facing Shedeur, who looks like he runs a 4.85, he's a little bit mobile, but he ain't going to kill you in the running game. You can get him. Now, gap responsibility is less important and just getting into the backfield and just disrupting the quarterback as fast as possible. That's all that matters. And how you get there doesn't really matter. You inch over into somebody else's gap, if you cross the center's face or cross the guard's face when you're not supposed to, but doesn't matter because that guy just wants to throw the football. He's not looking to hurt you with his legs. There's no running game coming. There's nothing. And so I'm looking at people on social media and people that allegedly know something about the game. Oh, they should have run screens. Oh, they should have did this. They should have tried this pass. They got to blah, blah. You got to run the football. You got to get your offensive linemen into the game by letting them be physical with the other team. You have to establish a running game so you can run some play action pass. I'll never forget. The best defensive player in the Mid-American Conference during my time was a guy named Joel Smingy. I've talked about him before. 6'6", tremendous pass rusher, but could be handled very easily in the run game. And he put a clown suit on me in the passing game. And the only shot we had was we'd run these plays 22 and 23. It was some kind of play action pass. We faked the running game right at him and then drop back to pass. And then we had a chance because I could get my hands on him. And once I could get my hands on him, I could manhandle him because I was just much stronger than Joel Smingy. But when we just dropped back to pass, it was curtains. It was over. And so I'm looking at Deion. They never established the run. They never went to a play-action passing game because they never established the run. Shedeur just does the same thing over and over again because Deion's showcasing him for the NFL and trying to pad his stats. Take Deion off the pedestal. This is coaching malpractice that will end in disaster. Deion's going to be pointing fingers at Colorado. Colorado's going to be pointing fingers at him. Those kids in that locker room are miserable. They know that their head coach is favoring a handful of guys, particularly his son. What head coach takes his son and star defensive player to an NBA game during a week of prep? Who does that? It's crazy. So they can be seen and talked about and sitting courtside. Look how cool we are. Do you understand? You should have been taking one of those offensive linemen or two of them to the game and building them up and begging them to care about your son because, trust me, right now in that locker room, those offensive linemen couldn't care less what happens to Deion Sanders. They're not going to go to war for him. They're not going to go to war for Deion. They know Deion is out looking to replace them. Deion just blamed them for everything and took no responsibility for what he's doing. And the whole media is rigged up so that everybody's afraid to say anything about Deion. Do we have the – I got to be careful here because I'm running out. But do we have there's a Ryan Clark clip of him trashing Brady Quinn about criticism of Deshaun Watson. Do we have that clip? Yes, we do. Let's play the clip of Ryan Clark, and hopefully it's not that long, but less than 2 minutes, hopefully. But play the clip of Ryan Clark trashing Brady Quinn for the mildest of mild criticisms of Deshaun Watson.
I do believe the difficult part for Brady here is that race does come into play because it's going to seem as a white man who is analyzing football is questioning the work ethic of a black player, right? Which we all can't do because we can't put ourselves in Deshaun's place. But I think to take it to the massage thing and make a joke, I think when Brady Quinn makes a joke about the massage situation and accusations, it's disrespectful on many levels. It's disrespectful to the women who are involved in that situation.
Yeah.
If they have been through what you're suggesting they've been through, because to make that joke, it seems as if you're criticizing Deshaun or putting him in that place of being wrong. So if he is wrong, then there's someone who had to be wronged in that situation.
Stop it. So I've heard enough. This you're blaming Deshaun Watson. 30 women have accused him of sexually inappropriate behavior. How dare you blame Deshaun Watson for anything? Because, Brady, you're white. And again, Brady Quinn cracked a small Twitter joke about Deshaun Watson. I mean, it was nothing. Brady Quinn and LeVar Arrington were talking about Deshaun Watson, and Brady Quinn made a point about, or maybe it was LeVar that brought it up about, is he a trust fund kid now that he has that $230 million guaranteed contract, and he seems to be refusing to play or pretending to be hurt or whatever it is, and it's like, where's his motivation? And, because he's black, you can't question or criticize Deshaun Watson. So if we have that going on with Deshaun Watson, a guy that 30 women accused of sexually inappropriate behavior, a guy that hasn't played football at a high level or virtually any football for 3 years, if the standard is, hey, he's untouchable, you can't criticize him or we're going to smear you as racist, how do you think analysts feel about criticizing Deion? If the stakes are that high as it relates to Deshaun Watson, why do we think no one wants to touch Deion Sanders? Deion Sanders is putting on a coaching malpractice clinic, and no one's allowed to talk about it, criticize him, or correct him because he's black. And he exists in this special bubble that the black people in media have decided he's untouchable. This is inappropriate for anybody. We all have to be criticized. We all have, and we can't say, you can't criticize this guy or you're racist. It's a joke. We're crippling, guys. And that's why I talk about Deion Sanders, because he's an example of how we're crippling, lowering standards for all black men. These lowered standards that the left has set up and these black puppets that they've installed is designed to cripple black men so that we're not fit for leadership, so that we walk into every situation with an excuse. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all of your fearless friends.